Hey, what's up you guys? It's me, Kylie, and I am finally back with a new video for you guys. It's October, it's spooky season, and with all this time of not being in school, I kind of got back into researching crime and unsolved cases, which is something that I used to really love doing, so I'm excited as well as saddened to bring you this next case. And the thing is, as much as I love researching cases, I really don't like when they involve young children and when they're unsolved. Especially with all of the media coverage that we have, all of the people who could have possibly seen it, all the people who are out there and have information and just aren't coming forward. It's really sad to see that with this case, after 4 years, not much has come of it. So I'm here to bring you guys the case of Arianna Fitz and her mother, Nicole Fitz. Now, let's just give you guys some background on the case. So Nicole Fitz was a 32-year-old mother who really struggled. She had 2 daughters, a 13-year-old and a 2.5-year-old, but her 13-and-a-half-year-old daughter lived with her father in Southern California. Now, I don't know if they were divorced or if they just had the baby together and she was living with the father, but the parents are definitely separated, and Nicole had Arianna. Now, Nicole was struggling financially. She was trying to get a job in San Francisco. She was living at a women's shelter for a period of time with Arianna. And at this women's shelter, she met this evangelical, self-proclaimed street priest. That's what it's called. Don't come at me for the name. Maybe the mispronunciation, but that is what this woman is called in all of the articles that I read. So basically, she invited Nicole and Arianna to come and live in her home for rent, and Arianna would get babysat by this priest. And at first this was great because they were out of the women's shelter and Nicole was going to be able to go and find a job because Arianna was being taken care of. But then weird things started happening. Like, this priest would raise Nicole's rent constantly depending on what her checks were. So if her check was like $385, that would be her new rent. If it was $200 something, that would be her rent. So essentially all of her money was going to this woman. And not only that, but she was going through Nicole's computer, she was going through her personal diaries, and it was just a really nasty situation to be living in. And Nicole knew that she couldn't keep leaving Arianna there, so she contacted her sister in Santa Cruz, and her sister happily let her come and live with her. But as Nicole was leaving, her and the priest got into this really nasty fight, and the woman just started going like, "You can't take that baby is mine, she belongs to me." And Nicole just left, cut off all communication supposedly, and went to Santa Cruz with Arianna. Now, I only say supposedly because once in Santa Cruz, Nicole still kept her job in San Francisco at the Best Buy, and so she had to find a new babysitter for Arianna, which ended up being Helena and Devin Martin. Now, Helena was the niece of that priest, and if she'd really cut off all communication, where is that connection? Like, why is that there? Because Helena claimed to have no contact with her aunt, claimed to hate her aunt, but if that was so, then how would Nicole even know of her existence? So anyways, Nicole decided to keep working at the Best Buy, and Arianna stayed with the Martins for extended periods of time. And when I say extended periods, I mean like weeks to months. But Arianna was seemingly doing alright with them, and Nicole was doing more than okay at her job. She loved it. She was super happy. She made friends with her coworkers, and she was making enough money to be able to move out of her sister's and hopefully move to the city to be closer to the job. And she was just really excited and buying little things for Arianna wherever she went, like a little blanket or clothes or bows, basically whatever she wanted that she thought her daughter would enjoy. But sadly, on the night of April 1st, Nicole went missing. She was with her friend, her coworker, who'd invited her to come live with them, and all of a sudden she just left and said, "I have to go meet this person." Her coworker didn't know who this person was, and they were really close, so why wouldn't they have known? But Nicole just left and was not back the next day. But late that night, her family received a text saying, "I'm okay, I'm with Sam." Her family also didn't know who Sam was, so that was really confusing. The next morning, on April 2nd, Nicole tweeted, "Needed this break, having fun with my 3-year-old." And this is suspicious because, one, break was spelled B-R-A-K-E, which Nicole loved school, she loved writing, she loved English, she would never make that error, and also, Arianna was 3. Nicole knew that. She would never say that Arianna was not her age. That just doesn't make sense. And her family noticed that. And her family also had no contact with Arianna since February of 2016. So, on April 5th of 2016, her family reported Arianna as missing. And sadly, 3 days later, on April 8th, Nicole's body was found at McLaurin Park in fetal position, covered by a board with a really strange symbol on it. I'll put a picture of it here, but no one seems to recognize what the symbol is. And I feel like someone has to, because it wasn't just a random board laying around a park. It was purposefully put on top of her in the way that it was. And it was brought with whoever murdered her. And so once her body was found at McLaurin Park, the police went looking for Arianna, and no one could seem to find her anywhere. The Martins claimed that they went on this Disneyland trip, but there was no pictures. They didn't know where Arianna was. They apparently hadn't seen her either. And this just has to be fake. Like, the police didn't look into the niece as much as I think that they should. I think they could have been stalling, because prior to this, they denied Nicole visitation with Arianna, because Nicole had requested to see her daughter back in March, and they said no. And as to why Nicole didn't call police about this or contact anyone, the only reason I can come up with is that she was afraid that she would be deemed as an unfit mother and that Arianna could possibly be taken from her. But there was this whole month and a half of time where no one apparently saw Arianna. Not her family, not her mother. That's what the niece claimed as well. But Arianna was staying with them, so they have to know something that they're just not giving up. I personally think that perhaps the priest has something to do with it. Maybe she was sold. But after 4 years, there is still no closure for this family. There's apparently 30,000 pieces of evidence that SF police have found. But as far as I'm aware, I could be missing something. Nothing has been discovered that's significant to the case. As for other information on this, Nicole was not exactly acting suspicious beforehand. She didn't really seem too worried about who she was going to meet. Theories on who she was going to meet could be the niece, because she wanted to see Arianna really, really badly, but she did trust this woman, so she didn't think that anything wrong could happen. As for where the case currently resides, it's still unsolved. There is a family grieving the loss of their sister and daughter and wondering where this little girl has gone. And hopefully Arianna is somewhere safe. She was only 2.5 years old, so maybe she doesn't remember her family or her mother, especially since she spent significant amounts of time with other people. The police gave a age progression photo that I'll put here. So if you see anything or hear anything, please contact the number that I'm going to put below this video, because the goal is to hopefully eventually bring Arianna Fitz home and safe, because no body was ever found, nothing cued in to her being possibly murdered, so hopefully Arianna is alive and well somewhere out there in the world. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. If you want more unsolved crime cases or solved cases, comment down below, and thank you for watching. Bye!